guys, welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, The Bright Side Girl, and today we're going to be doing my March reading wrap up. So I only have 6 books to share with you today, which is technically still a lot, but I am only sharing the books that I read outside of readathon. So in March we did Galaxy-a-thon, which is my space sci-fi themed readathon, and I did a full wrap up for that one, which is already up, so I'll link that up in the cards as well as down below in the description. Technically that's part 1 of my March reading wrap up. So these are all of the books that I read the week before and the week after the readathon. I like to kind of keep them separate. As per usual, we're going to go in order from least favorite to favorite. Everything I read outside of Galaxy-a-thon was pretty much a 4-star and fairly even, so overall a pretty good reading month. Alright, coming in at last place, but not because I disliked it in any way, is Wolves and Daggers by Melanie Karsak. So I'm kind of dipping my toe into reading ebooks more because there are a handful of ebooks that I really want to read, things that I can only get in ebook. So Melanie Karsak is known for mostly doing retellings and shorter novella type books. I think they're usually like under 200 pages or so. This is part of the Red Cape Society and there are 6 books in total. They are all steampunk Red Riding Hood retellings. I believe they're connected together, but I'll let you guys know as I continue to read the series. So bookmark this one for Retoldathon, my retelling readathon happening this fall. We're set in London and some of the alchemists and tinkers have gone missing. They call in Red Cape Society agent Clemeny Lovell to solve the case. Queen Victoria assigns her a temporary partner that is a werewolf with a knightly history and a tendency to be far more flirtatious for either of their own good. So we have a little bit of a romance in here. This one might be adult. I can't remember how old the main characters were or not. There was a hint of romance in here, but it's really mild. I really like her characters. They're very snarky and fun. Melanie Karsak is in my top 5 favorite indie authors. I'm very picky when it comes to indie books. I don't read a ton of them, but Melanie Karsak is kind of one of my like comfort read indie authors that I know that I'm gonna have a good time when I go in, and I keep reading more and more from her and really enjoying it. I wound up giving this one 4 stars. Then I read Extraordinary, the graphic novel. So this is a graphic novel based on the Vicious series from V.E. Schwab, which is an adult kind of supernatural superhero type book. It made my top 10 reads of 2023. Absolutely loved Vicious and Vengeful. In those books we follow 2 college students and they're basically trying to figure out if we can become EOs, which are extraordinary people that have some kind of supernatural ability, and they do all these different things to try and make that happen, and it's very dark and gruesome and awesome. And this one I thought it was going to be like a straight retelling, but it kind of follows like a different character and kind of blends 2 different things. I wasn't really sure entirely how I felt about it. Like, I enjoyed it because I like the world so much, but I didn't like it as much as I expected. So this one was like a 3-star for me. Next, I reread This Vicious Grace by Emily Thied in order to read the next book in the series, which I'm getting ready to start here soon. This is a YA fantasy duology that is super unique, set on this small island, and we have our main character who is a Fenestra. She is guarded to protect the island from these dangerous creatures. They're selected and they change every so often, and the Fenestra is supposed to amplify her partner's powers, which will help them protect the island more. And every time they give her a new partner, he winds up dead. So after this happens like 3 times, the island starts to wonder if she was the wrong choice, and someone attempts to take her life, teams up with this kind of snarky bodyguard to protect her while she's trying to figure out how to find her match so that she can amplify her power and protect the town. There is a snarky, really cute, sweet romance in here that is really, really fun, but also there are so many lovable characters that have like different kind of elemental magic type abilities. The magic system in here is really great, has like an Italian setting to it, and I really, really love this first book. I gave it 5 stars the first time I read it. I think it's probably more like a 4.5. Maybe I'll change my mind after I read the second book. I really enjoyed it, and it's one that I recommend to a lot of people, especially if you are new to kind of fantasy books. This one's a little bit on the lighter side, but still done really well. Okay, next I want to talk about Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera. So this one was recommended to me by several people. This was new for 2023, and this is an adult thriller. After Lucy was found wandering the streets covered in her best friend's blood, everyone thinks that she is the murderer. Lucy and Savvy were the golden girls of their small Texas town. Lucy married a dream guy with a big ring and an even bigger new home. Her best friend Savvy was the social butterfly of the town, especially popular with the men. It's been years since that horrible night, and Lucy can't remember anything about it, and she has since moved to LA to start a new life. There's like a huge podcast, murder-based podcast, that is unweaving the story and looking into it more and kind of undoing it. She winds up having to go home and get involved with the podcast. This was a 5-star reading experience because the audio was incredible. I love the way they did the podcast portions because we get little snippets of the podcast, and it's just done in a really, really cool way. The narrator was absolutely amazing. Overall, it was probably a 4-star read, but the experience was 5-star because I read this so quickly. The whole time you're following Lucy and you're in her head, and she thinks that she's the murderer, and she's getting all these like dark thoughts about killing other people, and you're really confused and you're trying to figure out the whole story. The only thing that kept this from being a total 5-star was the ending, of course. It didn't fully make sense to me. There were a couple questions I still had. Like, almost all of the men in this town were just like next level terrible, almost to the point where you're like, why would anyone live here? I don't think that really gives anything away, but that part was just a little bit annoying to me. But overall, this was a really well told story. I really enjoyed it. Definitely has darker, intense topics, but it was also done in kind of like a humorous way. About a 4-star for me. And then lastly, so I'm doing a buddy read with a couple of friends for the Fallen Kingdom series and the Throne of Glass series. I have not read the second book in Fallen Kingdoms yet. I'm a little bit behind because our readathons are coming up so close together, and I'm trying to finish up other series, but I did get to Assassin's Blade and Throne of Glass. So we started with Assassin's Blade for Throne of Glass. I have read Throne of Glass like 4 years ago, and I never continued on with the series. Not because I didn't like it, but just because that's how I was at the time. So I was okay with starting with this one because I'd already read the other one. This is a novella collection, and I'm very torn about telling people to start with this one. I understand why a lot of people want you to start here because technically Throne of Glass will spoil some things that happen in here, but this one was written after Throne of Glass, and usually prequels are actually meant to be read after the main story or partially into the main story because it's giving you a deeper look into the past of the characters. These are technically short stories, but it kind of reads like a full-length novel. Really, really good, and you will get spoiled for something that happens in here in the other books. However, this one does not fully explain the world or give you like the full sense of what's happening the way that Throne of Glass does. So I personally, even though I'm a big person of like going in order, would start with this one because this was also written first. The author actually suggests reading Assassin's Blade after Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight, which I think is the next one. So she suggests reading it third. I didn't mind reading it first, but I do feel like it didn't fully explain the world and everything, which could throw some people off. But it was really excellent. I really enjoyed it. Solid fantasy world. In case you aren't familiar, because this is one of the most popular series, I see a ton of people rereading it right now, and we're going to be doing like 1 or 2 books a month. So in this one, we're following Selena Sardothian. So when magic has gone from the world and a vicious king rules from his throne of glass, an assassin comes to the castle. She does not come to kill, but to win her freedom. If she can defeat 23 killers, thieves, and warriors in a competition to find the great assassin in the land, she will become the king's champion and be released from prison. The crown prince will provoke her, the captain of the guard will protect her, and a princess from a foreign land will become one thing that Selena never thought she'd have again, a friend. So really good. There's a competition in here. I am so far very much enjoying my read of this book. I'm enjoying it more than Fallen Kingdoms so far. It's a little bit easier to follow. The characters are a little bit more lovable, and I'm prepping myself for later books because it's supposed to get quite brutal. This is considered YA, but it might branch off into new adult as the story continues. I will let you know because I'm finally getting to it. I'm so bad about like the ultimate popular series sometimes, but we're doing it this year and I'm really excited about it. I'm also really enjoying the narrator for this series. Okay, you guys, so that is everything that I read for March outside of Galaxy-a-thon. Be sure and check out that other video. I read a ton of things. I usually cram in as many as possible as I can for the readathons, and then I go a little bit easier when we're outside of the readathons. Plus I'm reading some larger books. That's kind of going to be the trend, so these monthly reading wrap-ups are going to be a little bit on the smaller side outside of the readathon. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know your favorite book of March down below in the comments, what you're reading currently, and what your TBR is for April. I'm so excited that we're in spring. I'm going to be reading some more spring style reads and just doing all of the fun things. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time on The Bright Side.